Right now on CBS News Boston, a next weather alert as overnight snow causes slippery road conditions for the morning commute. And removing a bus lane from a busy Boylston Street, the months of complaints that had the city reversing course. And a big move from the Red Sox, the reported deal bringing a two-time All-Star to Boston.
Live on WBZ TV and streaming on CBS News Boston. WBZ News starts now with a next weather alert.
All right, let's take a look outside at a somewhat frozen Charles River here over the city. This is a good little preview of what the morning is going to be like here. Good morning and thank you for joining us. It is Thursday, February 13th. I'm Brianna Pitts. The overnight snow is turning into rain, and that can make the roads a bit messy and slick this morning. We do have you covered. We're going to take a look at the roadways this morning, beginning with our travel times. So we're at 35 minutes getting up the expressway. That's a long ride for the expressway. 48 minutes into the city on 93 South. Mass Pike, a 44-minute drive in, and Route 24, 22 minutes. So everyone going a bit slower out there this morning. Our team is helping you navigate the roads. Laura Hafley is in the Chevy Next Weather Tracker with real-time conditions. Laura?
We're driving along 93 in the Medford area where traffic is starting to pick up as we head into those morning hours and get closer to the start of our work day and school day. But it is slow going out here, and that's because of a few reasons. First of all, there's this combination of wetness and icy roads. It's causing this area to become very slick, especially on the bridges, the overpasses, those on and off ramps. So cars are driving incredibly slowly to make sure that they're staying safe on these icy roads. That being said, we have seen several crashes both here on 93, on Route 2, and on 495. People who have clearly slid off the roadways or into the guardrail. Luckily, none of those crashes seemed significant, but it's a good example of how treacherous this driving is this morning. So as you're heading out to work or to school, here's a couple things to keep in mind. Of course, monitor your speed. Make sure there's enough space between you and the car in front of you. Be aware of those icy roads and leave plenty of time to get to where you're going so that you don't feel like you have to speed. Now, we've seen several trucks out on these roadways, including snow plows and salt trucks. So neighborhoods and these highway systems doing what they can to make sure that driving is safe, but it's important to take accountability as an individual driver. Monitor that speed to make sure that you get to where you're going safe, and so does everyone else around you. Laura Hafley, WBZ News.
Weather alert with Jacob now. And Jacob, roads were a mess this morning. This is still a concern.
Yeah, absolutely. Mainly north and west of town. I'll say this. It looks like conditions are improving compared to where we started out at 5 in the morning, but we still have a little ways to go, especially along and north of Route 2 as you get towards that northwest tier of 495. That's where we're seeing at the moment sort of the slickest conditions. Road crews are doing their best to kind of stay in front of this, but we still are holding on to some sleet and freezing rain through parts of central and northern Massachusetts, northwest Middlesex County, and into southern New Hampshire. Meanwhile, a lot of us closer to the coastline, from Cape Ann to the North Shore to Boston and the South Shore, have just flipped over to some rain. That doesn't mean that we're not immune. That doesn't mean we're immune from some of these incidents that have popped up, but the biggest concern at the moment is definitely going to be north and west of town, where we still have some of that sleet and freezing rain falling. So holding on to some of that snow as you go into parts of southern New Hampshire as well. This is a very disorganized system. The subtropical jet is actually to our south, and that is going to stay to our south. If this just had that connection between where the energy is and where the moisture is, we'd be talking about a more prolific storm, but we don't have that in this case. That actually will arrive into the weekend, Saturday night into Sunday. Low 30s through Fitchburg and Worcester at the freezing mark. Meanwhile, we're in the mid to upper 30s out towards the Cape and Islands and Boston. Slickest spots through the next few hours will be north and west of town. Please keep it slow as you hit the roadways. Temperatures getting back into the upper 30s for highs today. Brianna, I mentioned that weekend storm Saturday into Sunday. We'll be watching how that progresses. And then we have another one about a week from today that we're watching closely too. A lot going on.
A really active pattern. Jacob, thanks. Developing this morning, an arrest in a hit and run that killed a Fisher College student and injured her sister. Police took Christopher Baker into custody last night. He is accused of hitting Taylor Wilkinson and her sister while they were crossing the street in Roxbury last month. Baker is facing multiple charges and is due in court this morning. Changes are coming to a busy road in Boston after months of complaints. City is reversing course on a dedicated bus lane. WBZ's Penny Commit is live in studio with the details on this, Penny.
Well, Brianna, there have been complaints about this forever. It feels like Back Bay residents, just people driving through Boston in general, have been complaining about these bus lanes for a while, saying it's caused traffic backups and it's taken away space for parking, especially after a dedicated bike lane was also added last summer. Now, that bike lane isn't going anywhere, but the city did just announce they are going to remove that dedicated bus lane from Boylston Street. The bus lane was put in temporarily in 2022 during the Orange Line shutdown and then permanently installed in July of last year. The city says that it just hasn't been working as intended. People have been driving and even parking in the bus lane, making congestion already worse on an already busy street.
The allocation of space just for a bus lane hasn't been justified between the loading that's needed for businesses, between seniors and others trying to get into the library and other spaces. We have heard from community members that this needs to be changed.
City crews are going to start removing that bus lane just within the next few weeks, weather permitting, of course. And Mayor Wu says that her office is also going to reevaluate other roadway and bike lane changes throughout the city. So, Brianna, there could be a lot of changes coming up. Of course, we'll keep you posted.
All right. Those are certainly kind of a hot topic. You love them or you hate them. All right, Penny, thanks. President Trump plans to severely shrink the federal workforce, and it has cleared a major hurdle. This as the president is now pushing for an end to the war in Ukraine, just days ahead of the 3-year mark since Russia's invasion. CBS News' Jared Hill is in New York with the latest.
I think they have to make peace.
President Donald Trump says negotiations will begin immediately toward ending Russia's war with Ukraine. At the swearing in of his new director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, the president said he spoke to leaders of both countries on the phone yesterday and told reporters he plans to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
We're going to meet also probably in Saudi Arabia the first time.
President Trump was non-committal on a sit-down with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky later said that he and Trump had a good conversation. But in a big shift from the previous administration, the U.S. signaled a reversal on support of Ukraine's bid for NATO membership, and now says the country may have to give up territory to Russia.
Returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective.
Back at home, a federal judge ended his hold on Trump's deferred resignation program for federal workers, which offers full pay and benefits through September to those who voluntarily leave their positions. The White House, though, says that offer is now off the table for anyone who hasn't already signed up. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Well, today, Boston educators will hold demonstrations across the city over stalled contract negotiations with Boston Public Schools. Boston Teachers Union members will be outstanding at 11 different locations starting at 2:30 p.m. The union says it's calling for higher wages and more classroom resources and contract talks with the district. Boston teachers have been working without a contract since September. There will be an increased police presence at Pentucket Regional Middle High School in West Newbury today as officers investigate an online threat. They say they have identified the student that they believe posted it, and they're also reminding parents and students about the dangers of misusing social media. Well, the cost of living is getting more expensive across the country. Inflation climbed 3% in January, and the average cost of a dozen eggs is at a record high of almost $5. Some restaurants, including a Cambridge diner, are introducing a 50-cent surcharge to egg dishes to try and make ends meet.
Not cover all of our costs. It does not offset any of the other increases that we faced recently, especially avocados. We made a decision not to pass that on.
The latest Consumer Price Index report also found rising prices for fuel, cars, and auto insurance. Governor Healy says one of her top priorities is making sure Massachusetts families want to stay in our state, and a new survey asked people why they left. Diving into the answers, WBZ's Brandon Truitt found one overwhelming reason stands out.
The conversation around cost of living is nothing new, but this report suggests people are doing something about it. In fact, the study says that U-Haul reports that Massachusetts is a leader in one-way trips out of state.
A lot of my paycheck is living here in Boston. I just remember when I was younger, I don't think it was like this.
You don't need me to tell you it gets expensive to live around here, but a recent study by Mass Opportunity Alliance surveyed people moving out, specifically to Florida and New Hampshire.
Definitely lower cost of living, and I've heard there's no taxes, so it's also a benefit.
I think it makes sense why people are trying to get out of here, because I don't think it's sustainable.
According to that survey, which focused on the middle class, 67% said they left Massachusetts over a high cost of living. About half cited state policies. Others say they wanted a different pace of life. In all, it resulted in 83% of respondents saying their quality of life had increased since they moved.
We tend to lose a bit of population to lower cost states every year.
Phineas Baxendall is with the Mass Budget and Policy Center. They analyze the state's budget and economic trends. Baxendall says Massachusetts offers things like a low-income tax credit, but has to start building more housing to keep people here.
Every city and town has their own restrictions, which make it kind of hard to build. And this is something that the state has been trying to loosen up, especially around the MBTA areas. It's both a supply story and a demand story that way.
And this is a topic that Governor Maura Healey has discussed since she's been elected, fully aware that in order to make money as a state, you have to keep people here. In Somerville, Brandon Truitt, WBZ News.
The Red Sox reportedly making a big move, signing free agent and two-time All-Star Alex Bregman. Multiple reports say the team is signing the infielder to a 3-year, $120 million deal. Bregman was with the Astros for 10 years, and he has been one of the most coveted free agents heading into the season. Just ahead this morning on CBS News Boston, Jo-Ann Fabrics is closing hundreds of stores, the 2 local locations that will be spared.